Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Server Room. This time we have Romanus Prabhu Raymond with us. Thank you for joining. So, is this your first time on a podcast?
Thank you, Alshin. Thank you for having me. Uh, with you, yes, this is the first time.
Have you been in on any other podcast?
Kind of, yes.
Okay, where was it? Was it here or?
With third-party vendors, media, analysts,
Was it about endpoint management or was it about other?
mostly on the endpoint and the security aspect of it.
Okay, nice. So it's good to have you here. Thank you for
My
joining.
pleasure.
So talking about endpoint management, the initial hurdles of managing endpoints, I think we have successfully covered everything. But password attacks are on the rise. So how do you think we can step up endpoint security measures to tackle that?
Right. Security is a realm of its own, right? So you cannot say that you are done with like what you said, addressing initial endpoint management. Now, once you're done with management, the security kicks in. That's how it was when we had this COVID situation. Most of our customers were able to enable their business remotely with the customers, with the employees. The challenge then was they have enabled it, but was it secure enough to run the business? Now, enabling that should not have a negative effect of impacting the business. So today we think about security by design, security during the development, right? Everything is possible, but back then it was on us all of a sudden. So we have to ensure that our customers, in the sense, they have to enable employees for the remote work. Once it is done, they have to worry about the security aspect of it. So, say for example, you have remote endpoints. Those remote endpoints are away from your management. You don't know what's happening. But when you do an audit, you have a defined security posture for your organization. And when these endpoints, which are not always being monitored by you, because they are not always reporting to you, they are outside. When they come back, before entering into production, you want to check whether the security posture, what you have defined for the organization, is still maintained by your endpoints. One single endpoint with lowered security posture can cause the business. So while it is entering into your production network, you have to really ensure whether it is in par with the security posture. If not, stage it, quarantine it, ensure all your security measures, because you have improved the posture. The posture of the endpoint has not improved. So it means it has developed more surface prone to attack. Now you have to ensure that you are shutting it down. Now that is something that laterally people have started thinking about. So being managed within the secured perimeter is one task, and enabling those endpoints working remotely is the second phase, where we have seen that during the COVID. And once that is done, you are not continuously monitoring it, because it is on its own. So when it comes back, you have to ensure it is according to the security posture which you have defined, and that comes in. So the reason why I'm saying this example is, basically, security is a continuous job. You cannot say that you have done with the security. It is always going to be, whenever you enable some technology for your business, you are actually extending your attack surface. Now you have to worry about how you are going to cover that and ensure that business runs fine. So it is always ongoing job. So there are a lot of scope to improve your security for the endpoints and for the whole posture of your enterprise.
In this modern AI era, is there a need for zero trust? Will AI and trust coexist with each other to create a safer environment, or is it different?
Yeah. So today, AI, machine learning is a buzzword, right?
Yes.
Practically, if you look at it, so people, the software vendors like us or any vendor was trying to include that in their marketing documents, also into the product. so which enables the business use cases better, right? But there should always be a checkpoint. So when you enable a lot of such things, say for example, let me give you an example. Endpoints need patching regularly, right? Now you kind of have intelligence to detect something and automatically patch, ensure that it is done. Now, endpoints could be end user computing, it could be servers, it could be business applications, crucial, right? Now, you cannot follow the same procedure process for everything. Now, you have to define. But when you start doing that, this automation, this facilitation of automatically having some machine learning based on the learning, automating certain things cannot be a showstopper for your business. Now that's where you have the zero trust which comes in. Your security initiatives cannot become a security threat, which means you have remote control to remotely connect to your endpoint, right? When this endpoint was compromised, or there is a console which is compromised, and if it is going to be in the hands of uh, uh, adversary, right? Then he could use that remote control to log into every mission because it's all authenticated, things like that. Now you have to really ensure you have multi-factor authentication. Before getting into one particular mission, you provide a multi-factor authentication, ensuring that this person is the real person and get the approval from the owner of the actual mission. So you can start thinking about that. So it's not a defined process. It has to be developed based on the requirement of the organization. Similarly, for the patches, you cannot just go and do a patch. If you upgrade the particular application, your business application, which dependent on this, would not function. So that will stop the entire business. Now you have to really ensure all the stakeholders who are part of that server, could be the IT team, security team, business application team, they should have collaborative, and that's where the multi-factor authentication. So I think AI, ML, and zero trust all go hand in hand, and using them appropriately as a process will yield you better results for business.
What kind of security policies should be set up at each endpoint to drive a better zero trust framework?
uh, as I was giving you examples, if you look at endpoint level, right? Today we talk about MFA at the for the mails, right? For accessing cloud applications, your banking has MFA, right? Now, similarly, you have to start thinking in terms of managing the endpoints. So you have role-based access control. Now, beyond that, you have to start using the zero trust or multi-factor authentication, things like that, so that defining a policy according to the business need, you should be able to enable. And the product what we have should be able to facilitate that for the customers at different levels, because each I'm just trying to give the same example. The patching is the same process for all type of operating systems, whether it could be laptop, server, Windows OS, Mac, Linux, mobile devices. It's all the same. However, the way that you have defined it as a process to enable your business is the difference. Now, that's where you have to have better policies and better facilities in the product to enable it, so that it can better facilitate the businesses to enable start using that in the real time.
With so many new technological advancements happening at a rapid rate, how do we ensure that new applications and new infrastructure does not expand attack surfaces?
Coming in, please.
Okay. Um, with so many technological advancements happening at a rapid rate, how do we ensure that new applications or infrastructures does not expand attack surfaces?
That's a great question. Today, all our customers or everybody is struggling to manage that. Now, as I said in the beginning, if you want to enable your business with some technology, you are actually expanding your attack surface, right? As we discussed in the first question, like managing the endpoint remotely is the first level. We did that, probably every organization did that during the pandemic period. Now after that, they have to start worrying about the endpoints going out of control, coming back to the production network, right? Now, if you look at this, at each level, even a static endpoint becoming a remote endpoint has a challenge of security, right? The attack surface increased. Now, the endpoint as a whole is a attack surface, and it has got OS layer. When you change the OS version, you expand the attack surface. When you don't change that, then it is also attack surface. There are applications, multiple applications running on that. Then that actually increases the attack surface. There are browsers, there are browser plugins, extensions, helper objects within the browser which you don't see, right? Now, all these things collectively put risk for the endpoints. Now that's where we have to start having some strategy for managing these endpoints. Like NIST talks about identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. Now, recently, last week, they have released about the governance of all these things. Now, these 6 components put together, if you look at our products from security perspective for the endpoints, we kind of embraced this approach, ensuring that we are able to manage the security and ensure that we continuously do that.
Is there room for AI to play a role in asset visibility and create a robust attack surface management mechanism?
Yes, of course. See, I was telling about NIST framework. Now it talks about, the first one is about identify. You cannot protect something which you don't know. Right? You have to know what is that and where is that, what services it has, who uses that. Now, only when you have those knowledge, you should be able to protect. Now, endpoints, the data in the endpoints, the applications which generate that data, the users which use the endpoint to use the applications to generate data, and the infrastructure. All of these become your actual assets, right? Now, your adversary or the hacker is going to only target on all these assets based on the vulnerability what they have, right? So having intelligence would actually make it still better for you to protect. Say, for example, you are collecting an asset from the endpoint. Now you talk about the hardware, software, licenses, right? And the browsers, plugins, what they use. Now I would recommend check the network connections. If the endpoint is being exposed to the internet mostly, now you can give a signal this endpoint has to be prioritized in terms of patching, because it has it has history, got the history from the inventory, from the asset management. We could see that it is more in the internet facing. So that means it has to be prioritized. Today's strategy of patching is based on the severity for the patch, what the vendor release, and our priority based on availability of the endpoint. Now, this whole scenario would be changed if you start looking at this way. What is the availability? We know. What is the exposure of this endpoint to the outside world? Because that is more intense in terms of getting hacked or compromised. So prioritizing this, you go ahead and ensure that these endpoints are patched first. Now you see that the intelligence, the machine learning, which helps the administrator automatically prioritize this so that he don't have to create a list of computers for patching. These are popped up first and created as a group. They do the patching first. Now these are all the areas that using the AI and ML we should be able to enable our protection layer still better.
There are so many advancements in technology these days. But there are threats too. So, what kind of new threats and vulnerabilities are being predicted, and how do you think UEM will evolve to keep up with this?
Right. So, in general, we talk about known vulnerabilities, unknown vulnerabilities, and then unknown. When I say known, as a vendor, I know. As a customer, he knows. As a threat actor, he also knows that there is a vulnerability and it could be exploited. And there is a patch for that. As a vendor, every vendor releases their own patches. Now you take that on based on some priority. You have to apply that to ensure that you are protected. This is basically known area where you should be able to do that. There are unknown areas, which means we have blind spots. If you take one particular application, you will find that this application has a latest version. So between, if you don't upgrade that, then you have some vulnerability. You might also miss some features in that. But inside the browsers, I was talking about extensions, helper objects, plugins. Now you don't know what are they. Each machine has its own list of such things. And are they running on elevated privilege? Are they leaking data to the outside world? We really don't know. So these blind spots has to be brightened or illuminated with more visibility. So they have to be brought in and given to you as a report. Based on that, either you choose to stop it or have some security measures there, right? Now, this is the area where most of the organizations are struggling, and we have products which could actually give better visibility in terms of you don't want to run a whole list of applications. You have defined list of, you can say, allowed applications. Only those applications would be allowed. Anything which is not allowed comes in, it is automatically notified and removed. Similarly, in any application which has to be run in a lower privilege, only when you have to go on an elevated privilege, it goes high. Now that's, we call it as just in time. So if your application needs that, we should be able to control and provide that. Now there are a lot of blind spots which we can enable that using the additional security add-ons that can protect the endpoints. Now the last one is about unknown. We don't know where the endpoints have the risk, right? And how are we going to solve it? This is where we talk about theoretically about the risk framework. Now, how do you handle this? So that's where we have, if I talk in terms of, sorry, if I talk in terms of NIST, the third and fourth pillar comes in, detect and respond. You have already protected, you have patched, you have security add-ons to give you better spotlights on the blind spots. All those things are done in the first two layers. Second, third, and fourth, in spite of this, there are a lot of loopholes because it is people who are using it. Now, whenever there is a gap, whenever there is some malicious activity, how soon are you able to detect that? That's the biggest challenge. Once you're able to detect it, how soon you're able to remediate that, respond to that, right? Now that's where we call detect and respond. And it's called endpoint detection and response. Now this endpoint detection and response system would have a complete knowledge about historical attacks. Say for example, there are n number of organizations across the globe who have been attacked, and there are analysts who have done research and found out how a threat actor has entered into the organization, done a defense evasion, and moved himself laterally to the other machines, exfiltrated the data, and had an impact, right? Now, based on the studies, what they have done, there is a list of defined tactics, techniques, methods, procedures. Now, those things are known to your product. Now, will that stop everything? No, because your business and whatever the sample which has been taken is different. So you have to understand or train your system for your business. And that's where you have the behavior analysis, and each endpoint's behavior is baseline based on the data, telemetry data that we collect, and based on that, a lot of intelligence is created. So we understand that this is the machine which has been used by this person for this many duration, and inside that machine, these processes will run, and these applications would be running, and he would be connecting to these machines. Right? We have baseline that. When there is a deviation from that, then we can say there is suspicious activity, and based on some monitoring, it could be malicious or it could be false alarm, something like that. Now, this is the system that we are expecting. We have already built anti-ransomware. We are giving one more release, which will have next generation AV upcoming, and then by next year we should be having a full-blown EDR, and that's going to take care of the whole stack from the threat perspective, like known, unknown, unknown, unknown. We should be able to cover everything from the endpoints perspective. Now, you can say we talked about assets in terms of endpoint, data, applications, network, identity, all of these things. Now, you talk about only endpoint. Now, the idea is endpoint detection and response, right? Similarly, you have network level detection and response. Similarly, IT level, SIM, right? Now, all these things from different assets, these EDR, these detection and response kind of alerts will come to a single place, and that's where it is called XDR, extended detection and response. Organizations will embrace this because they have the assets. Based on the assets, they have the management, security, and those security will raise alerts based on the detection and response. That comes to EDR. From there, you should be able to remediate and get a full security-wise health of the whole organization. That enables you to run the business in the right way.
Thank you so much. Actually, I want to ask you more questions, but we've run out of time. So I have small souvenir for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.